The other thing that drives collaboration culture is what I'm calling the ethics revolution. And this is where we need to concentrate for a moment on millennials, because these are the people you are working to educate. Millennials, if you study all the surveys and studies done over the last 20 years, we've been looking at millennials for 15 years now, running our own research and borrowing research from others worldwide, and found that this is a very nurtured generation. I don't mean that they have been without problems when it comes to family structure, because they clearly haven't. I mean that by and large, generically speaking, when compared to Generation X before them, they were much better nurtured in childhood and much more protected in childhood. When these guys came along, they had entire toy warehouses devoted to them. Entire book industries, a la Harry Potter, sprang up to service this generation. If you study the surveys done among employers in Europe, you find that many consider them to be over-nurtured or hyper-nurtured. One survey that we saw recently declared millennials to be, one, spoiled, in need of constant reinforcement, a little bit brittle emotionally, self-occupied, interested only in themselves and their friends and what they're doing, and not really that keen on investing in a multi-generational enterprise, having some disregard for authority figures and yet expecting much from authority figures. These, by the way, are my adult children I'm talking about, so I'm not having a dig. All of these things may or may not be true, but one thing is true. Because this generation is protected and is well nurtured, it places a premium on trust. This generation has driven the trust economy. From the support that it gives to eBay, person-to-person retail, to the support it gives to microfinancing through kiva.org and similar groups worldwide, to the support that it gives now even more to crowdsourcing and crowdfunding, as sharing and trust make their way into the world of traditional venture capitalism. This is a generation that places a premium on trust. It places a premium on story, because almost every form of meaningful communication they are directly involved with is narrative-based. Social media, if you think about it, is the telling of story, stream of consciousness fashion over a period of time. This generation says to an employer, I will invest in your enterprise, I will invest in your project, if you can help me tell a better story about who I am. I don't just want the CV improvement, I want my experiences to improve so I can tell a better story about me. This generation looks at the blue skies thinking of us baby boomers. Well, some of us here tonight are baby boomers, those of us old enough to remember what that means. And the grassroots activism of Generation X. Put those two together, and for this generation, they aspire to tell a very different kind of generational story. Now that causes them a problem, because the story they inhabit when they come out of high school is not the story they were told to believe when they were children. They were told when they were children, every employer will want you, they'll value your skills, you're remarkable. They come out of school, they can't find a job or the job they want, or they have to pay £8,500 a year to university just to get a degree per year, I might add. They face the pressure of the cost of ecological disaster. They face the pressure of the cost of pension pain. In 2006, across Europe, the ratio of workers to retirees was 4-1. By 2050, if not 2040, it will be down to 2-1. For every 2 people working, 1 will need to be supported in a pension. Already in Britain, the over 55s, my age group, are the largest healthcare group in the country. And millennials know they will have to foot the bill for much of this. Housing is a big concern to them. Those of you that work with millennials or have millennial children, you know that for many of them, housing doesn't seem a viable option in the short term. The demography of global research people say that Britain now has 19 severely unaffordable cities based on the relationship between income and mortgage cost. America, by comparison, only has 11. So we have a challenge in the country we live in. Put all that together, ladies and gentlemen, and you've got a generation that is very sensitive to ethics. In fact, I believe this generation, and the research we're doing showing this, is driving a search for a new ethic in business, in politics, and economics. And they try to use technology to help them find that new ethic. This generation has turned notable figures like Harvard's Michael Sandel, the noted ethicist, into intellectual heroes because they're talking about things like a, quote, moral capitalism, a market that serves us but does not define us. The University of Birmingham is one of about 10 major universities who in the last 5 years in Europe have set up schools of global ethics, recognizing, they say, that within about 8 years, every major corporate body will have around the table a professional ethicist. I think every university within about 10 years will have an ethicist serving on its board, it's the head of faculty, perhaps even in certain faculties, an ethicist on hand to help map right and wrong uses of rapidly changing technology. So what am I trying to say to you up front here? I'm trying to say that the systems you design, the systems we build for the delivery of education content need to accept and facilitate this viral collectivism, but at the same time, recognizing the need for trust and the aspiration toward ethics.